I died on a rainy Tuesday in 2025. My brother's bullet ripping through my ribs like a bad joke from a mobster flick. The last thing I saw was his face, twisted in that fake sorry grin he'd perfected since we were kids, whispering, "It's just business."
Sarah.
Dad always said you'd never measure up. As the blood pooled on the boardroom floor of our family's crumbling empire, I realized the truth. He poisoned the well years ago, turning Mom and Dad against me with whispers of my failures, all while siphoning off millions meant for us both. Betrayal tasted like copper and regret, and then blackness. But death's a lousy editor. It hit rewind instead of delete. I jolted awake in my lumpy twin bed in our cramped Queens apartment. The year 2015 blinking back at me from the alarm clock like a glitch in the Matrix. 10 years. A decade of deals.
Deceit.
And my slow bleed out, all erased in a gasp. My hands, younger, unscarred, clutched the faded comforter. And I laughed.
A raw,
ugly sound that echoed off the peeling wallpaper. This time, I wouldn't play the good daughter. This time, I'd burn it all down from the roots. The first shock hit like espresso straight to the vein. I was 25 again, fresh out of NYU with a business degree gathering dust and a mountain of student loans that felt like ankle weights in a sprint. Mom was still alive. Cancer wouldn't claim her for another 5 years, and Dad was barking orders from his corner office at Sterling Imports, the family business he'd built from a garage in Brooklyn back when imported silks were the hot ticket. And Jake, my golden boy brother, 3 years older, already groomed as the heir apparent, schmoozing suppliers with that all-American charm that hid teeth sharp as a loan shark's contract. They'd pitted us against each other since diapers, Jake the athlete, me the bookworm, but in my first life, I'd swallowed it, thinking loyalty would win out. It didn't. He framed me for embezzlement, staged that accident in the warehouse to cover his tracks. And when the dust settled, he inherited everything while I rotted in a cell until he decided a bullet was cleaner. Not this round. I swung my legs off the bed, feet hitting the cold hardwood, and grabbed my phone. The screen lit up with text from Jake. "Hey sis. Dad's throwing a dinner tonight. Show up looking sharp, big announcement." Yeah, I knew that announcement. It was the seed of it all. Dad naming Jake COO, sidelining me to administrative support because, in his words, "You're too emotional for the big leagues." Sarah. Emotional. Code for not a bro. I deleted the texts, heart pounding like a bass drop at an underground rave. First move, ghost the dinner. Let them stew. But revenge isn't a sprint. It's a goddamn marathon with pit stops at every therapist's couch and self-help seminar in the 5 boroughs. I needed capital, connections, and a spine of steel. Step 1. The stock tip that saved my ass in the first timeline. Bitcoin was hovering at $300 a pop, dismissed as nerd money by suits like Dad. I'd cashed in late, turning a measly $5,000 into a windfall after the 2021 boom, but this time, I'd ride it from the jump. I logged into my dusty brokerage account, transferred every cent from my savings and that emergency fund Mom guilt me into, and bought in heavy. "You're gambling our future," she'd said back then. Honey, this was the future. By week's end, I'd quit my barista gig, no more steaming lattes for hipsters, and enrolled in an online coding bootcamp. Tech was the great equalizer. And in 2015, Silicon Alley was just starting to buzz. I'd watched Jake fumble through the digital shift in my old life, clinging to fax machines while startups ate his lunch. Not me. I devoured Python tutorials like they were chocolate, Networked on LinkedIn with VCs who wouldn't give Dad the time of day. And by month 3, I had a freelance gig building apps for a fintech startup in Flatiron. Pay was shit at first, $60K a year, but it was mine. Untethered from Sterling's toxic web. Family fallout started subtle. Mom called. Voice all honeyed concern. Sarah? Honey? Where were you? Your father was devastated. Jake stepping up big time, COO. Isn't that wonderful? I bit my tongue, picturing her in that first deathbed scene, clutching Jake's hand while the machines beeped me flat. Wonderful for him, I said, voice steady as a surgeon's scalpel. I've got my own path now. Silence. Then the passive-aggressive sigh. We just want what's best for you.
Sweetie.
Like your brother.
Click.
That was the hook in my gut, the constant comparison. The why can't you be more like Jake? Drilled into me since high school when he got the Corvette for his 16th and I got a bus pass. I dove deeper into the boot camp, pulling all-nighters in coffee shops that smelled like ambition and desperation. My first app, a simple budgeting tool for gig workers, went viral on Product Hunt, netting me $10,000 in consulting fees overnight. Suddenly, I had options. I moved out of Queens to a studio in Williamsburg, the kind with exposed brick and a view of the East River that whispered you made it. Jake texted sporadically, proud of you.
Sis.
Drink soon?
Lies.
In the old timeline, those drinks were where he'd plant the seeds of doubt, telling Dad I was unstable, feeding him forged emails showing me skimming petty cash. The secret he'd buried? It wasn't just greed, it was fear. Jake knew I was smarter, that I'd see through his lazy shortcuts, the kickbacks from shady suppliers, the offshore accounts he'd started hiding in 2016. He'd killed me to keep that lid on. 6 months in, I hit my stride. A VC from Andreessen Horowitz bid on my pitch for a blockchain-based supply chain tracker. Ironic, given Sterling's import woes. This could disrupt the whole game, he said over Zoom, his face all bushy brows and enthusiasm. I closed the seed round for $500,000. Equity split 60-40 in my favor. Sarah Sterling, founder of Chainlink Solutions. No relation to the family name anymore. I'd legally ditched it after the first dinner flake. The press release hit TechCrunch. Ex-NYU grad turned side hustle into $1 million startup. Mom forwarded it to the family group chat with a single emoji, face with rolling eyes. Jake replied, cool beans.
Cease.
Still can't beat my golf handicap.
Petty.
But I screenshotted it. Evidence. As winter bit into the city with teeth like a junkyard dog, I started the real recon. Hired a PI discreet, ex-NYPD, with instructions to dig into Jake's side gigs. Reports trickled in, late-night meetings at a dive bar in Midtown with a guy named Rocco, known for creative accounting, offshore wires to the Caymans, funneled through a shell company Dad had set up back in the 90s for tax efficiency. The betrayal deepened. Mom knew. Emails from 2017 in my old memory showed her signing off on adjustments to the books, all to keep Jake's nose clean while I slaved over audits. For the family, she'd say. Family. What a crock. I attended my first family holiday since the reset, a tense Thanksgiving in their sprawling Long Island McMansion, the one Dad bought with legitimate profits. Jake was there, arm around his fiancée Lauren, all blonde perfection and trust fund vibes. Sarah, the prodigal coder returns, he boomed, pulling me into a hug that smelled like bourbon and cologne. Dad clapped me on the back. Heard you're playing with toys now. When you gonna join the real world? Mom fluttered. We miss you at the office.
Dear.
Jake could use a smart assistant. Assistant. The word was a slap. I smiled. Razor thin. I'm building my own empire. Dad. No assistance needed. Dinner was a minefield. Jake dominated, regaling with tales of closing the China deal, while I picked at turkey. Mind racing. That deal? In the old life. It was the first domino, tainted goods, FDA violations he pinned on me. I waited for the lull, then dropped it casual. Speaking of deals,
Jake.
ever hear of Rocco Vitali? PI says he's got interesting friends. The table froze. Fork clattered. Jake's laugh was forced. Who's that? Some app nerd. Dad's eyes narrowed. What's this? Sarah? Spying on family. Mom's hand trembled on her wine glass. Girls, let's not fight. But we were fighting. I leaned in, voice low, just curious. Chainlink's all about transparency. Maybe Sterling could use some. Jake's jaw ticked, first crack in the facade. That night, driving back to Brooklyn in my beat-up Honda, I felt the shift. Power. For the first time since the bullet, I wasn't the victim. The new year dawned like a hangover, crisp, unforgiving, and full of bad decisions waiting to happen. My startup exploded. By February, we'd secured patents on the blockchain tech, and IBM came knocking for a pilot. Valuation hit $2 million overnight. I hired my first employee, a sharp coder named Mia from the boot camp, and we turned a co-working space in Soho into mission control. Late nights blurred into breakthroughs, algorithms that sniffed out fraud like bloodhounds on a scent. Poetic justice. Tracing ghosts in ledgers while my brother's skeletons rattled louder. Family pressure mounted. Dad called weekly, voice gravelly with that old-school machismo. This tech crap's a bubble.
Sarah.
Come home. Learn the ropes from Jake. He's got the Shanghai office humming. Humming on bribes. You mean? I demurred, feeding him just enough to keep the line open. Soon, Dad. Got a big investor meet. Lies greased the wheels. Meanwhile, the PI's dossier thickened. Jake's affair with Lauren's best friend. Covered up with hush money, a DUI expunged via donations to the right judge. The man was a walking indictment, but the real knife? Mom's complicity. Forged docs from 2018, her signature looping elegant on falsified tax returns. She'd always favored him. He's the boy.
Sarah.
Carries the name. As if I hadn't bled for it too. I decided to poke the bear. March brought the Sterling annual gala. Black tie schmooze fest at the plaza. I showed up in a crimson gown that hugged like ambition, arm in arm with a VC hotshot named Ethan Tall. Ivy. The kind who made Jake's frat boy shtick look small time. Heads turned, whispers followed. Sarah Sterling? The crypto whiz. Dad beamed for the cameras, but his grip on my elbow was iron. Who's the suit? Don't embarrass us. Potential partner, I murmured. For Chainlink. Not Sterling. Jake cornered me by the bar. Champagne flute trembling slightly. Lauren hovered, oblivious in sequins. Nice threads.
Cease.
Compensating much. His eyes flicked to Ethan. Then back. Laced with that sibling venom masked as jest. Dad says you're burning cash on fairy dust. When it pops, don't come crying. I sipped my drink. Slow burn. Funny.
Jake.
Last I checked, Sterling's margins are dipping, offshore anomalies.
Maybe?
Rocco's got a mouth when paid right. Color drained from his face. He recovered with a bark. Jealous much? Stick to your garage sale apps. But the seed was planted. That night, Ethan closed a $1.5 million bridge round over oysters at Le Bernardin. You're shark in heels, he said, eyes gleaming. I laughed, but inside, it echoed hollow. Trust was a luxury I couldn't afford. Spring thawed the city, and with it, my resolve hardened. Chainlink landed Fortune's 40 under 40 me.
Solo.
No family footnote. The profile painted me as the self-made rebel, daughter of immigrants who bootstrapped from barista to boardroom. Omission by design, Sterling got one line. Buried. Mom sent flowers, wilted lilies. Passive-aggressive perfume. Proud. But family first. Attached note, Jake's up for VP at a big firm. Real money. Real money built on my corpse.
Last time.
I escalated. Hired a forensic accountant. Cross-referenced the PI's files with public SEC filings. Bingo, Jake's shell company linked to Sterling via a consulting fee loop, siphoning $200,000 quarterly. The crime? Not just theft, fraud on a scale that'd tank the company if exposed. And the twist I'd buried in my first death, Dad knew. A 2020 memo, yellowed in my memory, greenlighting it all. Protect the legacy, he'd scrawled. Legacy meant Jake. Always.
Me?
Collateral. Confrontation brewed at Easter brunch. Their sprawling kitchen smelling of ham and hypocrisy. I arrived with a bottle of Dom, gift wrapped in irony. To new beginnings, I toasted as we clinked. Jake smirked, to not screwing them up. Post-meal, while they napped off carbs, I cornered Dad in his study. Leather chairs, walls lined with first editions he never read.
Dad.
Let's talk numbers. Sterling's bleeding, offshores. Rocco. I can fix it. Chainlink tech. Clean slate. His face purpled. You think you know better? Jake's got it handled. You're the outsider now. Playing house with geeks. Outsider. The word ignited. I built this family. Dad. Nights reconciling books while Jake golfed. And for what? So he could bury me.
Slip.
Too raw. He blustered. Barry, you're dramatic. Like your mother says. Mother. Who'd signed the lies. I left shaking, but empowered. Back in Soho, I drafted the whistleblower packet, anonymized, routed through a lawyer in Delaware. Not yet. Timing was everything. May brought expansion. Office in Austin. Team of 12. Revenue projections hitting $5 million. Ethan proposed partnership, business first, but his hand lingered on mine during the toast. You're unstoppable, Sarah. Unstoppable, but lonely. Nights. I'd scroll old photos. Kid me and Jake at Coney Island. Cotton candy grins before the favoritism festered. Could I save him?
No.
The bullet erased that delusion. Summer scorched in, and Jake struck first. Anonymous leak to the Post. Tech darling Sarah Sterling. Family black sheep or corporate spy. Blurry photo of me at the gala.
Capti un implíngide puak Starling clients.
Shares dipped 5%. VCs whispered pullout. I traced it, burner email to a tabloid hack. IP bouncing to Jake's home Wi-Fi.
Cute.
I countered with a Medium post. From sibling rivalry to silicon success. Why I walked away. Viral in hours, 500K views. TEDx invites. But the damage? Personal. Mom called sobbing. How could you air our laundry? Jake's devastated. devastated. Like I wasn't. I pushed harder. Infiltrated a Sterling board meeting, proxy via a sympathetic uncle who'd always slip me extras as a kid. Reports confirmed Jake's Shanghai Miracle was counterfeit silk, laced with lead. FDA probe incoming. Uncle whispered post-meet. He's digging his grave.
Sarah.
Your father's blind. Blind or complicit. That night, over whiskey with Mia,
I confessa fragments, no resurrección.
just family hell. She hugged me. Burn it down.
Boss.
You deserve the ashes. By fall. Chain link was unicorn bound. Valuation $50 million. I eyed real estate, not just any pad, but the penthouse at 432 Park Avenue. That skyscraping monolith of New York excess. A $5.2 million cash.
No mortgage chance.
Symbolic, taller than Jake's wildest dreams. Bought outright before he could utter subprime. Realtor gushed. It's a statement. Damn right. But as closing loomed, paranoia crept, tires slashed outside the office. Watch your back scrawled on my mirror. Jake's escalation. I upped security. Installed cams. The game was on. And I was all in. Thanksgiving redux, I skipped.
Sent a postcard instead.
Grateful for fresh starts. Jake's reply text. You're dead to us. Irony. Brother. Dead to you first. December clawed in with blizzards that buried the streets in white-knuckled silence, mirroring the storm brewing in my veins. Chainlink's holiday party was a triumph. Catered sushi. VR demos. Toasts to disrupting the status quo. Ethan pulled me aside amid the twinkling lights. Marry me?
Sarah.
Not the company, the real deal. His eyes held that rare vulnerability. No boardroom bullshit. I hesitated, trust fractured like safety glass, but nodded.
Yes.
But my world's a minefield. He grinned. Good thing I'm a bomb squad guy. Word spread. Mom's Christmas card arrived gift wrapped in frost. Heard the news. Lauren's due in spring. Family grows, yours or ours. Subtext, choose sides. I burned it in the sink. Flames dancing like vindication. Jake's moves amped up, phishing emails to my board. Disguised as sibling outreach, laced with malware. IT caught it. I traced the origin. Retaliation, leaked audio to a Bloomberg contact. Jake's voice. Slurred from that midtown bar. Rocco. Make the numbers dance. Dad'll never know. Hit publish New Year's Eve. Sterling stock cratered 15%. Jake blamed market jitters. Dad's call came at dawn. January 2nd. What the hell? Sarah? You trying to destroy us? Voice cracked. Not rage, fear. It's out. Dad. All of it. The lies. The ledgers. Jake's poison. Silence stretched. Then, he's your brother. Brother. The word weaponized.
Was.
Until he pulled the trigger. Slip again, metaphorical, but close. He hung up. Hours later, a courier, Dad's old ledger.
Aaron.
Pages yellowed with guilt. Entries from '09. Loan to Jay, personal. S covers. I'd covered. All right, forgiven debts. Silent audits. The secret unburied. He pitted us to protect his own screw-ups. Early bankruptcies hidden by our sweat. Empowered. I accelerated. February valuation, $200 million. Penthouse closing set for March 15th, $5.2 M wired. Keys in hand. Realtor emailed, "Congratulations, Emis.
Hale.
Hail, my new name. Post-divorce, from the family ghost." Media frenzy built. From Family Feud to sky-high success, Sarah Hale buys billionaire's perch. Jake's response? A lawsuit, defamation. Dropped whispers of sister's vendetta. Laughable. My lawyers shredded it. Counterclaim for harassment pending. Spring equinox brought the gale. Sterling's FDA probe went public. Lead in the silks. Recalls nationwide. Jake testified. Sweat slick under lights. Sabotage. Internal leak. Eyes flicked off camera to me. In the gallery. Anonymous in shades. Mom testified next. Voice quavering. My son wouldn't. But crack showed. Cross-exam pulled the emails. Her loops incriminating. Jury deliberated 2 days. Verdict. Fraud. $10 million fine. Jake indicted. He called from lockup. Collect. You bitch. This is war.
Va?
I'd been conscripted since birth. I visited him in Rikers. Plexiglass between us like the chasm it was. He looked smaller. Orange jumpsuit swallowing his frame. Why, Sarah? We were kids.
Kids.
Before the Corvette. The comparisons. You chose.
Jake.
Every shortcut. Every lie. I just turned on the lights. He sneered. Dad always knew you'd crack. Emotional. Weak.
Weak.
The word ignited the final fuse. Tell him hi in hell. I walked out. Heels echoing like gunshots. Crescendo hit mid-April. Dad summoned me to the McMansion, foreclosure looming. Furniture shrouded in sheets. Mom hovered. Frail in a robe. Chemo whispers starting early, this timeline. Fix it. Sarah. Dad pleaded. On his knees, metaphorical. But close. For the family. Family. The myth shattered. Too late. You built this. Jake's thrown on my back. Now watch it burn. I handed him the ledger back. Annotated. Every cover-up. Every slight. Publish it. Or I will. He crumpled. Mom wept. We loved you both.
Both.
Lie of the century. But revenge's high is fleeting. Doubt crept. Ethan's ring weighed heavy. Mia's promotions felt hollow. Late nights in the half-empty penthouse, boxes stacked like tombstones, I questioned. Was this justice or just another cage? Jake's trial loomed. May 10th. I testified. Voice steady. He didn't just steal money. He stole trust. And when that wasn't enough, judge sustained objection. But the jury saw the fear in my eyes, the ghost of that bullet. Verdict, guilty. 15 years. Appeals pending. But the empire crumbled. Sterling auctioned, fire sale. Dad filed bankruptcy. Mom entered hospice early. Secrets eating her faster. I visited her bedside. Tubes snaking like regrets. Forgive, she whispered. I squeezed her hand. Healing starts with truth. She nodded. Eyes closing.
Peace.
Maybe. For her. Post-trial. The media storm peaked. Sibling slaughter. How one woman's revenge toppled a dynasty. Talk shows beckoned. Oprah reboot. Pod saves America. I declined. Focused on Chainlink's IPO roadshow. Valuation. $1 billion. Ethan proposed again. This time on the penthouse balcony. City lights winking approval. Build with me?
Yes.
But the scar itched the what-ifs. Then, The decision that'd haunt headlines. Whistleblower payout.
SC Rewarded Tips, 1000
Tax-free. I donated half to women's shelters. Coding scholarships for black sheep kids. The rest? Seeded a foundation. Hale Legacy. Auditing family businesses for fraud. Controversial? Hell yes, accused of profiting off pain. Vindictive feminist smears in the Times. Protests outside the penthouse. Blood money. I addressed them from the steps. Mic in hand. Pain built this. But so did choice. Don't let yours be stolen. Claps mixed with booze. America's pulse. Divided and thrumming. Summer solstice. I stood in the penthouse, furnished now. Minimalist whites and views eternal. Ethan cooked steak. Mia crashed with wine. Laughter echoed. Real this time. But as dusk fell, phone buzzed, unknown number. Voicemail, Jake's voice. Raw from appeals cell. You win.
Cease.
But remember, family's forever. Even in chains. Chills spidered my spine.
When?
Or just paused. Autumn leaves turned the park blood orange. A fitting palette for the unraveling I'd orchestrated. Chainlink IPO'd in September, ticker Hale. Shares soaring 40% on debut. Forbes crowned me the Avenger CEO. Profile laced with barbs. Ruthless or righteous? Debates raged on CNN, pundits dissecting this sterling saga as cautionary tale of nepotism. Gender wars. Millennial grudge. I tuned it out. Jetting to Austin for expansion. Ethan trailing with engagement rings and quiet support. You're not alone, he'd murmur post-boardroom battles. Alone. The word lingered. A shadow from the grave. Dad's decline accelerated, stroke in October. Rehab in a state-funded ward. I footed the bills anonymously. Through the foundation. Visits were clinical, him in a chair. Words slurred. Eyes pleading what lips couldn't. Sorry. First crack in the patriarch armor. I nodded. No absolution. Heal.
Dad.
That's my gift. Mom passed quietly that month, cancer swift, unburdened by trials. Funeral was small. Jake's absence a void, represented by a lawyer's note. Regrets. I scattered ashes at Coney, waves lapping like unfinished symphonies. Rest, I whispered. For her, maybe closure. But Jake? The twist uncoiled in November. Appeals hearing live-streamed from a Buffalo courthouse. I'd tuned in from the penthouse. Laptop glow casting my face in blue judgment. His lawyer argued duress, family pressure, my campaign of terror. Then, exhibit drop my old emails from 2020, pleading with him, stop the leaks.
Jake.
We're in this together. Forged? No, real. Twisted out of context. The secret he'd hoarded, not just his crimes,
But mine.
in the first timeline, desperation drove me to a deal, cover his tracks for a cut. Before realizing the noose, I'd confessed in a panic email. Deleted but recoverable. He hadn't pulled the trigger. He'd baited me into the frame. Then the bullet sealed it. Courtroom gasped as the judge read, I'll handle Dad. Your hands stay clean. My words.
Damning.
Shares tanked 8%. Headlines scream twist. Sister's complicity? Ethan's face over dinner. Explain. I did. Resurrection veiled as what-ifs, the pressure cooker of favoritism. He listened, hand steady. Past his prologue. You're here now. But doubt seated, bored whispers of ethics review. Mia rallied. Fight it. You're the phoenix. I did. Press conference. Flanked by lawyers. Those emails? Forged in fire. Twisted by a brother cornered. Blockchain doesn't lie. Here's the metadata. Chainlink tech verified. Timestamps doctored. IP faked to my old VPN. Jake's hack.
Post-indictment.
Reversal in days. Appeals denied. Sentence upped to 20. But the scar? Public trust fractured. Foundation donors pulled. TEDx cancelled. America loves a villain flip. Now I was the schemer. Hail the house of cards. Winter gripped tight. Holidays hollow. Ethan and I eloped in the Hamptons, small. Salty air vows under gray skies.
Forever, he said.
Forever felt fragile. Penthouse parties replaced solitude. I hosted mixers for underdog founders, stories mirroring mine, parents' poison, siblings' sabotage. Catharsis in shared scars. But nights, alone. The bullets echo. What if I'd chosen mercy? Climax crested New Year's Eve, 2016, gala at the plaza. Ironic full circle. I arrived in black velvet. Ethan on arm.
Mia toasting flutes.
Then, the envelope courier. No name. Inside. Photo. Me at 20. Arm around Jake. Backs to the camera. Scribble. Blood's thicker. Jailbird. Threat? Or plea? My PI confirmed. Smuggled via guard. Jake's last gambit. I burned it. But unease festered. Dawn of 2017 brought bloom. SEC cleared me fully. Shares rebounded. Dad recovered enough for a letter. Shaky script. Proud now. Forgive? I visited. Wheeled him to the garden. Water under the bridge, I said.
Lie.
But healing. We talked startups. Not scandals, his eyes lit. Old fire flickering. You always were the smart one. Always. Validation. Bitter as quinine. Spring thawed regrets. Lauren gave birth a boy. Jake's from afar. She reached out. He wants photos. For when? I sent one, me holding the kid. Namesake unspoken. Redemption's thread. Thin but there. Chainlink hit $500 million revenue. I stepped back. CEO title to Mia. Board chair eternal. Ethan and I eyed a house upstate grounded.
Green. Roots, he said.
Roots without thorns. But the true end? Summer solstice again. Penthouse balcony. City humming below. A call, Jake. Paroled early, model prisoner. Remorse program. Voice cracked, sis. Can we talk?
Pause.
Weight of worlds. Not yet, I said. But maybe.
Click.
Not forgiveness, forward. The bullet's ghost faded. Replaced by pulse of possibility. I'd paid $5.2 million cash before he could dream it. Toppled thrones. Unearthed graves. But victory? In the quiet. It was this choice. Mine. Unpoisoned. America, land of second acts, delivered. And in the mirror, Sarah Hales stared back. Survivor. Not avenger. Scarred. But soaring. Epilogue whisper. Jake showed at the upstate door. 6 months on lean. Eyes haunted. I was wrong. We talked till dusk. Beers on the porch.
No hugs.
But handshakes. Family? Fractured mosaic. But mended. Maybe. In time.